Great, we are live. I am incredibly excited today. My name's James Ski. I'm the podcast host for the Sales Confidence podcast. And today we've got the lovely Veronika, who is the co-founder and CEO of Demodesk. Veronika, happy to have you on today. How are you feeling?
Yeah, excited to be here. Feeling great. Excited to
Good.
chat with you.
Yeah, I am as well. Look, there are a few people that I feel out there in the world have as much energy as me, but I've noticed, I think I found a competitor. You've got huge amounts of energy, and I'm super excited about this conversation.
Nice. No, likewise. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited for this, and I'm looking forward to chat more about the topic that excites me the most, which is sales.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we love sales here at Sales Confidence, and we also love Demodesk. And I'm looking forward to the audience learning more about you, your leadership approach, but also Demodesk and the impact you're having on the market. I guess just as an opening gambit, what are you most excited about generally at the moment? What are you most excited about?
Well, I'm most excited about all the progress that we've recently made as a company. So we've made a lot of great hires, and also now we start seeing these efforts materializing. So this is great to see. We also just hired a few more people, and one of them also joined as of Monday, which I'm especially excited about. He will lead our talent acquisition strategies. So I'm super excited for that hire. I mean, other than that, probably same as for everyone else in the world, excited to see that the pandemic seems to at least have an end in sight.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree, and I think that's a line straight away. I think if you're listening to this conversation today, and you're interested and excited about what Veronika's talking about, definitely check out Demodesk because there's a lot of opportunities there as a company. So, what I like to start with in these conversations, and we've done about 40 episodes now, is I love to understand the DNA, the individual behind the brand. So, starting with yourself from an introduction perspective, Veronika, what's the first thing you typically think about when you wake up in the mornings?
Well, typically the first thing is just to sound stupid, but drinking water. I think drinking water is extremely important, right? To make sure that your brain and body works. So drinking water, picking clothes, going running. So I love to go running. This is typically the first thing that I'm thinking about. Then obviously my family, my partner, my son, how they're doing. And then, probably like more relevant for the business side of things, like for every day, I do think about the top 3 priorities of things that I want to achieve on that day. And with this, I typically start then going to work.
Great. Okay, I love that. So there's exercise, there's hydration, there's family time, and then it's work. Have you got a long commute? Does it take you long to get into the office?
Not at all. It's just a 5-minute bike ride. But I mean, we are a work from anywhere company, so remote first company, so we can work from wherever. I just personally prefer to go to the office. I'm living super close.
Nice, sensible. One of the things we've said it already, you've got a huge amount of energy. I wondered where does your motivation and the inspiration come from to build a global brand in the way that you are for Demodesk? Where do you get the inspiration from?
I think energy, like, or energy level is probably something that you either have or you have not, right? So I probably was always blessed with a lot of energy since forever. But because you asked where my motivation comes from, but I do find inspiration, I think it's mostly in my network. So I also have a lot of friends in my network that founded successful companies that have built something great, have achieved something great. And I'm actually like finding the most inspiration in my immediate network, to be honest. And that's the first thing. And then second thing, I love listening to music. Probably 50% of the day. If you take out meeting time, I probably listen to music. So whatever music there is also somehow motivating, inspiring to me. And I can also advise everyone to listen to more music. It's very motivating.
Very cool. Good advice. You don't have a typical background of someone in sales. So I'm wondering, what was the first experience you had of the sales profession or being sold to or sales generally?
Yeah, great question. Well, I actually do have like a lot of background in sales. So my very first job in sales was when I was at school. So I think it was 13 years or so, 12 or 13 years. And I took a sketchy telesales job. I was paid by the hour. And I needed to call people, random people from a list, and first convince them to participate in a survey. So I needed to ask them a few questions about their private financial situation. So private individuals asking them for their financial situation. And then 2 weeks later, once they had done the survey, I needed to call them again and then convince them to set up an appointment with a financial advisor who would come to their private home. And
Wow.
yeah, so I was, as I said, like paid by the hour. But when I was meeting my goal of running enough surveys or making enough appointments, I could leave earlier and was still paid for the rest of the day. And yeah, that was probably my first experience in sales. It was a little bit sketchy, but I also learned a lot, right? I mean, just pick up the phone, get through. I mean, somehow, yeah, you will get it done. And yeah, I think I definitely learned from that.
I love that story. That's fantastic. As a founder, though, like when did you make that transition? When did you make that decision to become a founder, or was it driven by the idea, or were you always motivated to have a company?
It started in university. So I did study business and engineering, and did an additional study program that you do on top of your studies. And it's only 40 people per year. And they basically teach you how to become an entrepreneur. You could say that. It's a study program in Munich as well. And also a lot of other successful European companies come out of the program, or have been founded by people who have been part of the study program. And this is actually why I got in touch with entrepreneurship startups. And yeah, just really inspired. I'm like, what the amazing things are that you can build if you are not afraid to think big. And yeah, it just was very inspired by that. And also then started working in a few startups. But when I was done with university, I just had the feeling I didn't know enough yet about business, about sales, about how to communicate with customers, how to manage yourself, how to manage others. So I decided to join a management consultancy to basically learn all the hard skills that I perceived as lacking at that time. But even before joining then, I was wanting to build something, either something on my own or also joining a startup, joining an earlier stage company that would also have been equally great for me. So that was the plan from the beginning since I joined that study program.
Great. So you had the foresight that you were interested in building a company. You selected a university program. You've gained experience. You've obviously had a very fast, rapid transition and growth as a business. I mean, when you think of hiring for a moment, you mentioned you're doing a lot of hiring. Are there some attributes or personality traits that you look for at Demodesk when you're hiring people?
Yes, so we do hire against our values. So we have 5 core values, and those are also typically the attributes that we hire for. So the first one is the ability to constantly learn and grow. So we want to achieve something great. We want to build the leading communication platform, leading meeting platform for customer conversations. It's quite an ambitious mission. So we need to have people on board that are like able to like constantly grow, constantly be motivated, constantly basically outgrow themselves and grow with the company. That's the first thing. And the second is drive to results. So we definitely have a tendency to hire doers rather than thinkers. I mean, you have to have a strategy, right? But in the end, it's like all about execution. And strong ownership and responsibility would be the third attribute that we're hiring for. So own it is one of our core values, very important for us. Trust is the fourth core value. So we really need to be able to trust people. It's also why we typically do a few cultural interviews on top of the interviews that are related to job-specific skills. Because it's just very important if we like move in a fast-paced environment that you can trust others doing their job with the right mindset, that you can rely on them. And then the fifth one is diversity. So we are an international company. So we do have employees in the US, in the UK, in Germany, in Eastern Europe, in Portugal. And we also want to keep it like that. It's very important that people that do come to Demodesk can work with us to appreciate that and are able to navigate an environment or in a company where a lot of different people are working together and also enjoy that. And yeah, these are the 5 values that we have as a company, and also the values that we hire for.
Love that, and really solid. I love how you focus on the diversity, especially when you've got this diverse workforce spread across the world. And I think that's going to really go in your favor. So we've learned a little bit about you as a founder, and there's so much more to learn. But I'd love to help the audience and help the market understand what Demodesk is all about. You know, what do you actually do? What does Demodesk provide the market and sales professionals? Very eager to know.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you more about Demodesk. Obviously, no. I mean, we are in a very exciting mission and in a very exciting market. I mean, since the pandemic, it is obviously clear to everyone that inside sales is probably like the way to go, right? You don't have to meet your customers physically in order to speak with them, in order to sell to them, in order to onboard them, in order to build relationships. And this is the product that we've built to make that entire process easier. So we are a customer meeting platform for sales and success teams. So we are similar to Zoom, right? A meeting platform, but built for sales reps. And what we do differently and what the value is that we bring to you, the company, is we empower every rep to become a top performer by guiding them in real time along playbooks, automating non-selling tasks like scheduling, preparation, making sure everything is automatically prepared when the meeting starts. And then, of course, also automating all the follow-up and documentation workflow by integrating with CRM. And we are also able to engage customers on an entirely different level in the meeting, because we don't share your local desktop when we do screen sharing, but we set up a virtual display that you can use to work on together with your customer. So it's like a collaborative experience. You can share mouse control, browse through the software together with your customer. It's just really designed for that interactive selling part. And the last thing that we also do is we have more data to analyze. So we empower you as a sales leader to know what's going on in your meetings, to also shadow meetings if you want. So we have a shadowing functionality that is not available in tools like Zoom or Google Meet. So you can basically join a meeting and then it helps sales reps on the spot to really make sure they become better every day.
I love that. I love the functionality. I love the capability that you're bringing to the market. And we'll talk a little bit more about the ambition for Demodesk. You've already shared about the attributes that you hire for. But I just wonder, why is it special? Why is Demodesk special? Why do you think it's a special product, or why do you think it's a special place to work? What makes Demodesk so special?
I think first, it's definitely like into product and our mission, right? So maybe just to go back a little bit in company history. So when we started building the company, we started with developing a new screen sharing technology, which was initially what we started with, right? So Alex just saw how inefficient, how old the current online technology that you use is, and also the screen sharing technology, right? Because the only way to share something with someone online virtually is really to like record a video of your local desktop screen. And it doesn't make so much sense anymore in a world where everything is already migrating to the cloud, or is already like hosted in the cloud. So you don't need to pull it to your local desktop, record your local desktop, and then again like upload the video to the cloud, to the server to share it, but you can just leave the content where it is, right in the cloud. And we started with developing a technology like to make cloud-based screen sharing, setting up a virtual display to make it easier and make it usable as a product. And then we also knew that we discovered something big. However, like was a bit tough to sell it, right? Because I mean, it was just a screen technology, but to have an amazing customer meeting, there's more to it. I mean, you have to have great audio quality, great video quality. You have to have a scheduling process. You have to, I mean, all the things that we now build, right? So a playbook, talk tracks, battle cards, and making sure that you empower every rep to be their best during a meeting. And there were so many things that we didn't have back then when we started, and it almost seemed like an unachievable mission to build all these things. And then we said, hey, I mean, what's the best way to achieve a very ambitious vision that's probably like almost even too ambitious for some to like believe in it? And we said, hey, yeah, we probably should go to Silicon Valley. You should probably like go to Y Combinator. So we applied and we got in, and then we moved to Mountain View, Alex and I, and then we yeah, just basically went through the program, met a lot of other inspiring founders, got great investors that actually believed in our vision. And I think if we would have stayed in Europe, it would have been much harder for us, right? Because I mean, especially Silicon Valley, like people are used to think big. They're used to, hey, where could this all go? Like, what could you build if you could build anything in the world? And that's typically another thinking that comes super natural to Europeans. So just by going there, I think this is also part of what makes us special as a company. So this hybrid, like European US setup, and also like a very ambitious mission, a very ambitious vision as well. So having the vision of really enabling everyone to have a great customer conversation, which is, again, like a complex product. And that definitely makes us special. And I think the third thing is also our work culture. So I already mentioned it before. So we really enable people to work from anywhere. So we do have an office. We do have an office in Munich. We do have offices in London and San Francisco, but people are not necessarily required to be there. They can work from wherever they want. And we also appreciate when people bring diversity to the team, when people do bring different backgrounds to the team. And this is probably also something that I also saw and experienced at Bain, where I was before. And it's also a very international culture. And I think you can just really achieve great things if you understand how to work with different cultures, with different nationalities, with different sorts of people.
I love that you've got that European DNA, but you've got that big global perspective and visionary approach that you get from being part of the Valley and the experience that you've had through Y Combinator. A lot of the sales technologies that Sales Confidence has brought into the UK and Europe, I would say almost 80-90% are founded in the US. So I think there is a competitive advantage you have understanding Europe, all the different cultures, all the different languages. And I think that will be fundamental in your product and in your roadmap, but also how you go to market. And then you've got the big global thinking approach that you have to build a truly global technology platform. So that's really exciting. When you, I mean, it's always hard as a founder because you've got a million ideas. You know, you're thinking into the future. You've already got a product that is extremely successful, and you're looking to get more and more people to use it. But is there something in the future where you've got like, it's not there yet for Demodesk, but you're just super excited about how it might impact sales and revenue leadership?
You mean, are you like more speaking about the product roadmap going forward? So what are like key things that we are about to build to
exactly
help sales reps even more? Is it more like that, or
exactly? Is there any secrets that we might be able to reveal, or something that you've got coming up that is interesting in the roadmap that you think is going to be a bit of a game changer in the market?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, everyone probably knows tools like Gong or Chorus that give you the possibility to record the calls and like analyze what's going on in these calls, right? So you can store them in a database, you can make them searchable, you can transcribe them, you can even detect a few keywords, analyze talk listen ratio. However, I mean, that always happens after the call, right? So you would have to go in again, listen to it, and by the time that you're listening to it, it's already too late. However, with Demodesk, we are there where the conversation takes place. So we can actually, in real time, give you insights into how to change the conversation for the better, or what you could do to make it more likely to achieve your goal. So we can, for example, also in real time track whether the customer that you're speaking with is engaged by analyzing talk listen ratios in real time in the call. We can also, for example, detect if someone is browsing on a different browser tab and like not even listening anymore, because I'm sure that happens in a ton of demos, right? We can just tell you as a sales rep and then help you and say, hey, please engage the customer, because you're losing them, you're wasting your time, the customer's time. And at first sight, you might think that, hey, I mean, isn't this kind of weird that you could in theory analyze if I look at something? However, I think it helps both sides, because also the customer doesn't want to be in a meeting that's not interesting, right? He jumped in a meeting with you, he accepted a meeting because he has a problem, he has a challenge, and he wants you to solve the problem for him. And by him not listening anymore, that just means that he probably doesn't think you can solve his problem. So in real time, in the conversation, we have the possibility to give you insights into what's going wrong, what's going well, and then you have the possibility and the power to actually act in real time and change the conversation for the better. We can also give you a timeline. So depending on how you decide that the agenda for a sales coach should look like as a sales leader, right? Because of course, there are like a lot of new joiners in the team that might just be on board for a month or so. Of course, they don't know how a perfect sales call is going to look like. But by embedding everything in the product, embedding everything in Demodesk, you can just say, hey, first 5 minutes is introduction. If you're speaking about introduction for 10 minutes, there's just a warning that tells you, hey, please move on to the next step, because otherwise you won't be able to achieve all the things in your call. And I mean, I was just giving now 3 random examples, right? Yeah. So one is talk listen ratio, one is analyzing whether the customer is engaged at all, and the other one is also time management. But yeah, like so much more things that you can do to improve a conversation in real time. And just maybe one last example that I would give, or I would like to give, is a tool named Crystal. I don't know if you've heard about it, but Crystal analyzes. So if I have a call with you, I would put in your name in Crystal, and then Crystal would search LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, and whatever for more information about you, and then analyze your personality. So I could say, hey, like James is really someone who also has a lot of energy. He likes to connect on a personal level. He's not necessarily like the person who needs to see tons of data to believe you or to build a relationship. And that would also help me, right, to like establish rapport with you. And which is incredibly important in selling, establishing rapport with the other party, because typically you buy from a human. You just don't only buy a product, especially on B2B. And also embedding something like this in Demodesk could also incredibly help the customer conversation.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that excitement and insight. So that's powerful. I love Crystal Knows. I haven't seen that for many years actually being used that actively. So that's some really interesting use cases that you've highlighted. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit more about sales and your perspective on sales. I was just wondering, I often ask this question, is there a book that you recommend or you read that has provided and impacted your career?
Yes, definitely. It's not necessarily a sales-related book, but the book that I think was most helpful for me is called The Great CEO Within. And it's not only a book for CEOs, right, or for founders. It's just a book for everyone to understand how you should build a company. And so it's very tactical advice on company building, how to be more productive, how to run meetings, how to document processes, how to manage people, how to speak to investors. So that is full of tactical advice. And one of our investors, Alex McCaw, gave it to me when I asked him for advice on a few things as the founder of Clearbit. And since then, I think it had been like the most helpful book for me that I have read when it comes to career and business.
Love it, love it. So naturally, you are interacting with sales teams, salespeople almost every day, and you've already highlighted that you're hiring. So get in touch with Demodesk if you're looking for a role. But what do you think makes a great salesperson, in your opinion?
That's a good question. So I think like energy, right, and passion for the topic. So like with you, for example, and typically also the ones that I think are the best sales like reps or sales leaders in a sense are the ones that really like do understand how to sell, that have gone through, I would say, the pain of cold calling customers, right? Like the example that I gave before, calling random people, trying to make them participate in the survey and selling them like a financial consultant. I think it's just super important to understand that. So if you want to pursue a career in sales or be a great sales leader, I think you just really have to like climb up the ladder and start from the very bottom. And these are, especially like from my point of view, the ones that I admire the most, because they do understand everything about sales. They do understand how to speak to a customer, how to manage a team, how challenging also sales can sometimes be, right? Because you do get a lot of no's, and it's normal. But if you have like never done that yourself, but have always only acted as a leader or as a manager, it's just very tough to really understand and really know how it's going. And maybe just also to name a few people. So I think the guys from Outreach, they are great. So Max Altschuler, I think he also has built an amazing network with the Sales Hacker, and now has a great position at Outreach. So he's very inspiring. Mark Kossoblow as well, the VP Sales. I also do think he's great. I agree.
That's helpful, and I think you're absolutely right with how interesting and those type of attributes that salespeople demonstrate. Do you? I mean, look, we've been through such a change because of the pandemic. Your business is thriving in some ways as a result of moving to inside sales and remote sales teams. But do you see any other changes coming in sales in the short term or long term that you think that we should be aware of?
I mean, the first topic that you would probably think of is automation. So, I mean, a question that also I do sometimes get is, at some point in time, like, I mean, can we replace sales reps with technology or software? I mean, do we even need like the human conversation? And I don't think so. I think it's like always necessary, especially because like technology is becoming more and more complex. And in the end, I mean, you don't really understand the software and the technology behind it, but you need to trust the people that sell you the product, right? So I think it's getting even more important rather than less important. And this is why I also think that, especially in sales, also like how the future of sales technology will look like is more focused on, I mean, empowering sales reps to be better at their job, right? It's also why I'm also emphasizing this so much, the really examples that I gave before. So it's more automating manual tasks that just take away your time and automating them for you. It's also augmenting your skills, either in real time during the conversation or helping you with answering emails, writing emails, sending emails, so tools like Outreach as well. I think like the automation and empowerment are probably the keywords for me.
Brilliant. I love that. Those words are great, and I can relate to your perspective on the importance of the human touch still. Okay, we're coming into the final part of the interview, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about your own beliefs and your own confidence. Like, it takes a lot to stand up every day and inspire your team, inspire the market, get onto interviews like this and demonstrate you know what you're talking about. Where does that confidence come from for you?
I think at the end of the day, you really need to love what you're doing. I mean, you need to enjoy it. If you don't, then it doesn't work, because, I mean, building a business also similar to sales or selling something, right? It's just hard, and you get a lot of no's. There will be a lot of setbacks, and just enjoying what you do, believing in the vision, believing in the product, also liking to work with the people around you. That's extremely important. And I mean, other than that, I just do my best every single day, and that's all I can do, right? I mean, I can do my best, and everything else we see. I mean, just not driving yourself crazy is also very important, because in the end, I mean, driving yourself crazy like also doesn't allow you to do anything else than giving your best. And like at worst, like rather limits you. So really, really realizing that you're just a human and you can do your best, but then that's it. It's also very important to me.
Well, that's a good reminder. I mean, therefore, as a human, though, you can't always be at your best, though. And I imagine you have had some no's. Have you had some times where it's been, maybe raising investment or early in the journey for Demodesk, where it was really hard, where you contemplated that maybe this wasn't the right route, or has it been a constant, win? So any hardship that you might be comfortable sharing that you've kind of fought back from?
I mean, not at all. I mean, we had very tough times as well, right? I think every company has that, and like also like every person has that. it's normal. And so maybe to just give two examples on how these phases look like. So the first one was definitely when we, as I briefly explained before, when we've discovered this new technology, like and built this virtual screen sharing technology, that we thought, hey, I mean, this is gonna revolutionize selling, because you don't have to record your local desktop. And then we tried to sell it for half a year, like I gave 1,000 demos probably. And yeah, like we sold it a few times. However, I mean, we just realized that it's just not enough, right? So just offering screen sharing is not enough. You need to have like an amazing product that's reliable, stable, has a lot of like functionalities like recording, video, audio, ability to do scheduling meetings, like a meeting link. So just like all the small nitty-gritty details that take you a lot of time to build as a business. And then we also saw, while selling that the actual problem is not screen sharing, but it is when selling virtually is not actually screen sharing. Well, it can be done better, yes, but the actual problem is you have to prepare every time, so many manual workflows, you like really finding the right material at the right time with the right customer in the meeting and making sure that you can give your best in these meetings. Like this is the actual problem. This is what we want to solve. And then we said, oh, okay, so what do we want to do now? Do we now give up? Because building the product will take quite some time, right? And that was definitely a tough phase. So in the end, of course, we like didn't give up, but we said, hey, we're gonna go to Silicon Valley. We're gonna go to an environment where people like are very inspiring and inspire us to think big and build something big. It might also take a bit of time, but also like realizing that and going through it phase was incredibly difficult. And of course, also from investors, right? Of course, we also heard a lot of no's. I think that's normal for every early stage startup.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing and being open. And hopefully now you've got the solid base that you can build on because of those experiences. You've already covered about your well-being. You talk about that you run, you drink your water, and that's fantastic. And you feel good about looking after yourself. I was just wondering, before we wrap up, do you have any tips or advice for others, sales professionals or sales leaders or anybody listening, on how they can develop their own confidence?
Yeah, I think first it's again similar point as before, making sure that it's the right job for you. So making sure that sales is really something that you want to do, making sure that it brings you energy to help others out, to speak with people, to engage with customers. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is, to me, also really understanding that you're not just selling something. So it's not just, I don't know, exchanging a product for the money. It's really like understanding a customer, trying to identify unique challenges, unique pains, what motivates that person as well. Because sometimes, I mean, it's not only related to a challenge or a pain, and it's also to, I mean, the person that you're selling to, maybe they have a specific goal that they want to achieve. Maybe it's like, I don't know, achieving the next step in their career, and they only achieve that if they do things X, Y, Z. And maybe, I don't know, with your product, you can help them achieve these things. Really like trying to understand the customer as a whole rather than just selling a product. This is incredibly important. And maybe also just realizing that sometimes it is hard. So for me, it's also was also very important to understand that just because things are hard and just because sometimes we were struggling, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because that also means on the other hand side that if it was that easy, everyone could do it, right? Like everyone could do the job, everyone could sell it, everyone could build that business, everyone could build a product, sell a product. So it's actually also good that it's a little bit harder and it's not as easy, because then, I mean, probably like you wouldn't be the right person for the job.
Agreed. That's great advice. And I love that thought around people need to consider it. Is this the right career to be in? You know, otherwise it makes it really, really hard. And so that's great advice. So this has been a wonderful conversation. I've loved getting to know you more and learning more about the history of Demodesk, where Demodesk is today, the attributes that you're looking for. Clearly, there's a huge amount of growth in this market, and Demodesk is at the forefront. I loved hearing about the new technologies that you're going to be developing and bringing into the product, and that's very exciting. So is there just any last final thoughts or anything maybe you haven't covered that you want to share with the audience just before we wrap up this interview, Veronika?
Not necessarily. I think we already discussed quite a few things. Maybe just the only one thing that I would again emphasize is really making sure that like whatever it is that you do, I mean, depending on why you listen to the podcast, right? If you listen to the podcast to get inspired to find your own company, or whether it's listening to a podcast because you, I don't know, maybe you want to become a founder or a CEO, or whether it's listening to a podcast because you wanted to learn more about like Demodesk, maybe just like always really trying to understand what does bring myself energy. So where do I get my energy from? And focusing on these things. And typically, if you do focus on these things, I mean, the rest will come.
Brilliant advice. Veronika, it's been a delight to have you on. So Veronika is the CEO and co-founder of Demodesk. Demodesk is available now, and they are hiring at a rapid rate. So make sure if you're listening and interested that you look at Demodesk online. As I said, my name's James Ski, the founder of Sales Confidence, and we host these regular series of conversations with the world's best founders and leaders in the sales technology and marketing technology space. Veronika, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being on the show today. And I look forward to hanging out again soon.
Thank you so much, James.